Hey everyone, it's Ryan here. Biomutant is around the corner, and if you're like me, you've been itching to get your hands on it. May 25th is so close, but also so far. A couple of weeks ago on this channel, we discussed the character creator for Biomutant, and today we're going to go into it a bit deeper than we did initially. Now look, I got you covered. If you missed that video, the link is in the description, but this is more updated, so you're not missing much from that last one. Because like I said, there's a ton of more information to sift through, and hey, maybe consider subscribing. Now we have all of the classes and the races that have been revealed exclusively by this Japanese site. The article is dated April 23rd, and by the looks of it, we're a bit late here, but hey, it's no time like the present. It does appear to feature some updated looks at the character creator and also some different steps or slightly altered steps to the character creator than we discussed in the last video that I made about this. Now, the article is in Japanese, so I had to do some Google Translate to get a rough translation of the information, and I'm just as excited as you to go over it. Quickly, I have to give credit to YouTuber NorZZa. They did a really great job and really great breakdown of this new information. I just want to say the information from this video I found from their video first, so definitely check them out if you want the original source. I just wanted to put that out there so none of you think that I just found the information all by myself and I discovered it myself. Their video will be linked in the description, as will be the channel, as the article as well will be discussed. I can't speak. Keep in mind, some of this represents an in-development build of the game, so it may not be exactly represented as you see here, but it all looks pretty legit. So you're going to see some screenshots here, and keep in mind it's translated from Japanese, but essentially you're going to have the different races and what have you here. I know a lot of you have different questions as if there would be different species or different types of characters that you can create, and that seems to have been confirmed via the source here. You have 6 races: Primal, Damden, Rex, Fip, Hira, and Margol. You may be somewhat disappointed if you wanted an extremely different looking species, of course. I think a few comments that I saw in the last video suggested that some of you wanted to make a turtle type of character or some different kind of species altogether. Now look, they do look different from each other. I'm not saying that they don't, but they're not going to look as drastic as playing as a lizard or bat creature. You will definitely see some diversity and variety in the screenshots. I'm not disputing that, but as you can no doubt tell, they all have a similar type of style to them. Maybe that's something that we could see in an expansion or DLC of some kind if they decide to do any of them, but they seem quite content on this being the full game here and now. Or maybe if they decide to do like an expanded universe into other different games and other media, or maybe we'll just see more races down the line, I don't know. Essentially, this is kind of your base. It gives you some starting stats depending on what race you pick. For example, Primal has a very good balance of stats, especially agility, though it has low intelligence, so it's not going to be the best when it comes to using psi abilities in combat. Damden has a lot of strength and is good with melee attacks. Rex and Fip are good with special abilities because of their high intelligence. Hira is good with physical strength and resistance. And finally, Margol has excellent charisma, which means it can also be good with bargaining power. You could just slide up to the ladies and be like, hey. So you pick the race and it gives you your base stats. Then you move on to the mutation part of the character creation, where you really begin to manipulate and change your character, or at least in Biomutant terms, your genetic structure, which means you have the base stats from the race you picked for sure, but you can manipulate that later once you pick your race by changing their appearance a little bit. I think of it like Elder Scrolls, for instance, where say like an Argonian is more prone to stealth and thief type skills, but you can absolutely go against the grain and play your character as you see fit. So again, like I have said in a few times in different videos, the easiest way to describe it is you can't play a big beefy character and expect them to be super agile and move swiftly, but they will hit harder and take more damage, whereas a smaller character can't take as much damage and doesn't hit as hard, but is quicker and more fragile. And again, you can obviously make something in between, so you're not limited to any of that, at least to the extent that it's going to hold you back. It's not really going to hold you back too much. The next part appears to be a new thing we haven't seen before: tolerance. You'll be able to decide your character's various resistances to different elements, be it burning or fire, cold, ice, radioactivity, and biohazard. The article notes that there's no drastic change to your character's appearance, save for the change in color pigmentation of your character's arm that changes depending on your resistance. It is worth noting with all these instances that you can likely grow your character more after this as you play, so this isn't like a one and done type deal. You're not going to be done for the whole game once you pick your class and mutate your character. You'll have plenty of time to be with your character and help them grow and expand their horizons. Next is something we have covered in a previous video, so I probably won't go over it too much again, except to say you can choose your fur pattern and your color. This one itself is purely cosmetic, so it won't affect your stats really. Now the part that I've been really excited to talk to you all about today, the classes. We have heard talk of all these classes you can pick and abilities, and you know what? We can finally see them here, the classes you can pick in the game. Aside from the mercenary class, there are going to be 5 classes or 5 major classes you can choose from, and this is, according to the article, the last decision you'll make in the character creator. The classes are Deadeye, Commando, Psy-Freak. This one I'm not clear is just a mistranslation from the Japanese, or if it's just spelled wrong. The Saboteur or Saboteur, and Sentinel. The article does not specify what each of them do, nor do I think it would have been useful either way, because the game is less than a month away. I could shout the skills at you if I had them and read some of what it says, but I think until you get your hands on it or are in-game yourself, it's probably not going to do you any good. And even so, there is not much specific information to go on, so likely some of this here is going to be a little bit of guesswork. Don't say I didn't warn you. Deadeye appears to be Biomutant's equivalent of a hybrid between a rogue and maybe like a warrior class, or maybe just a strict warrior class. Based on the image here, you can assume that you're going to have some firearms and a big sword. You can see a few of the skills translated here. One is called crack shot and then perfect reload. So it seems to have some of those rogue elements of like having ranged weaponry, of ranged weaponry, but also the ability to use a rather large sword. And one thing you'll probably notice thus far with all the footage and screenshots is that it looks a bit different from what we discussed in the last video. It's likely this is a later build of the game, but I want to quickly give the caveat that while the game is very close to release, there are likely things that might still be different or changed. So if some things end up looking a tiny bit different or it doesn't go exactly as it described here, I wouldn't be surprised about that. But obviously you see the little icons here next to the various stats, so it looks a little stylized than what we saw previously, which didn't look bad, it just looked kind of plain. It isn't a drastic change, but it does add to the overall feel of Biomutant, even though by comparison it's rather trivial. Commando is described as a special ops type class, and based on what I can tell, it looks to be a very gun heavy class, but you can see there will be some ability to work with melee weapons. There is an adrenaline ability as well. It reminds me of the soldier class from Mass Effect based on just what I see here, or maybe this is the strict warrior class from other fantasy RPGs, just, you know, like Biomutant's version. I can see this being kind of specialized firearms class with a very light focus on melee. Next, we have the Psy-Freak. The developer themselves said that this class is probably the closest equivalent to a mage class you'll get in a Biomutant. Obviously, you will have a higher intelligence to use and cast these various Psy abilities. One of them here listed as the Spark Ball, and that appears to be a class-specific skill, as are some of the other ones that we discussed here. Our fourth class here is the Saboteur or the Saboteur. Some of the special abilities here are dual wielding grip or twin silver grip, which gives, well, dual wielding, and also hypergenetic, an ability that reduces the energy cost for dodging. I can see this being closer to a rogue class with dual wielding, and the dodging ability means you'll be able to move rather quickly, so I think that's entirely fair to say based on these descriptions and the images. Something I am looking forward to seeing in this game, and I hope somebody posts a video of it, is someone can kind of take some kind of build or something with these classes and just break them. And I'm not talking about like a glitch, I'm just talking about like a crazy character build that makes no sense, but it's playable. Like someone made a beefy Psy-Freak character or something, and it was like this Hulk of energy attacks. I'm excited to see if anybody can like kind of break the character creator in that way. Finally, we have the Sentinel class. This one is tough to gather from the image and information given, and even the ability here. Its seemingly only ability or trait is toughness, and from what I can kind of parse together what kind of class it is, I'm willing to go and guess it's some kind of technically minded class, maybe specializing in a mixture of melee weapons and firearms, or maybe gadgetry and some armor. I felt more confident describing the last few classes, obviously, but the Sentinel does kind of perplex me, and if you have any more guesses as to what it is, feel free to go, or bring it to the comments. Don't go anywhere. Like I said, I'm trying not to dive too deep into specifics, if there are any even, because I think part of the fun is going to be getting our hands on the game and seeing for ourselves how it all feels and behaves and how all this falls into place. But essentially, each of the character classes determine whether your character is good at melee attacks, ranged attacks, or special attacks, or maybe a mixture of one or more of those. I imagine there will be ways to develop your character as you play. The developer described the ability to pick up other mutations for your character as you continue playing. And of course, you're probably going to have some kind of leveling system, so you'll be able to level up as you go. Again, I don't think this means you can't go further off of the character and maybe kind of end up morphing class into a hybrid sorts of some of the other classes, but not listed here is the 6th class, the mercenary class, which is the pre-order bonus for digital and collector's edition pre-orders. This has been described as the samurai type of class and has a unique set of abilities from the get-go. Essentially, the character creation occurs in the same 5 steps as we talked about in a previous video, but it's a tiny bit different. 1, you'll pick from one of the 6 races. Then 2, you will adjust your physical and facial characteristics and mutation. 3 will be your tolerance or resistances to negative status elements or effects. 4 is your fur style and color. 5, your class. And of course, it doesn't end there because as you play and grow your character, they can continue to change and evolve. As you can see, we have quite a bit more information than last time when it comes to the classes and races you can pick. And once again, I do want to credit NorZZa for finding this information. If it wasn't for them, I probably would not have done this video here or had a video here to do. They've also been covering Biomutant quite a bit more than I have, so I definitely would recommend heading over there and checking them out if you want to have more of a Biomutant fix or get a more Biomutant fix. That's basically all I have to talk about here. I hope you enjoyed this deeper breakdown of the character creator, which included the races and classes this time. Until the game launches, you probably won't see any more Biomutant videos from me, as I think now is the good time to do a blackout of the game and experience as much of it as possible for ourselves and discover what it has to offer. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. I like RPGs and stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon. I love you all. Maybe.